It's time to crump or get crumped. Let's talk about some tough orc matchups with some war tactics. War! Hello, everybody. Let's get into it. So what we're going to do is do a quick brief talk over the actual detachment rules, give our quotations about how they can affect us, what's kind of tough about them, things to look out for them to keep in mind. And then after we go over a couple of the slides that we have, we're going to actually look at two specific well-performing lists that are recent, right? Two GT performing lists. They're both different, but then similar at the same time, considering they're both Ironstorm, right? One's a kind of like plain vanilla Marine kind of idea, and the other one is a Space Wolf, very niche, but very powerful faction, right? So let's talk about the Ironstorm.
Yeah, so this Ironstorm Spearhead is one of the new detachments from the Space Marine Codex, and it has some pretty crazy rules for very efficient units that recently got point decreases.
Yeah, orcs with our lack of AP, lack of multiple damage, stuck at that damage too, don't really like to look across the table and see a ton of vehicles unless we're running beast snaggers. So this is a detachment that may not be a direct predator, but it could be a great hindrance to certain orc archetypes, right? That people don't want to see. Are you really going to run around with boys and trucks when this thing is running around, able to pop those trucks proficiently and clean up the boys right after with indirect, right? Not being able to ever kill them. So we're going to have to look at our list, kind of our archetypes, pay attention to ones we have, which ones will become better, and what units get to stay. So we'll start with what that army rule is. So right off the bat, they get to re-roll one hit roll, one wound roll, or one damage roll per phase. So that's with each model. You're going to see they're going to have Redemptors, they're going to have Whirlwinds, they're going to have Gladiator Lancers already re-roll on their own, but keep in mind, right? With their enhancements, they have the lethals for their hits. That's why it's going to be an issue for even hordes of boys and mobs. The fact that all their small arms fire that would typically not be so much of a hindrance for us becomes somewhat reliable with their little lethal aura bubble, right? Yes. Next is they have the 4-up Feel No Pain for one of their characters. I don't know if that's going to be too too common, too likely. It's most likely to just be on a list. But if they throw a Terminator on the list for some reason, or a Gravis Armor Captain, that could actually be an issue because the Gravis Armor Captain already reduces damage by 1. So we have the changing a fail saving throw, the damage to 0 if within 6 inches once per round. So if you're bringing something like a kill rig and you're getting that last cannon through, all of a sudden that they can just ignore that last cannon damage from your kill rig. That's actually very annoying and problematic. But like we said earlier, or if you end up using ghaz, I mean, they're gonna end up trying to save a ghaz one, right? So
the big thing too is it's an aura, so multiple vehicles can use this.
Yeah,
in the battle run.
There you go. That makes it even more of a point. So not that we have a lot of high multi-damage attacks, but for the ones that we do have, we got to keep that in mind, right? So those they have their enhancements. The ones that are the most common are I didn't bring up the new slide because this one's a little older one. Because it has how it's written. Sorry guys, I didn't put an enhancement next to those last two. The next thing is the strats to pay attention to. So let's talk about how these strats actually affect orcs. A lot of the time, when you see the dreadnoughts that they're going to have on these lists, they're going to ballistas dreadnoughts, redemptor dreadnoughts. We all know orcs have a problem with AP. Armor of Contempt is going to be very, very annoying and problematic, considering our beast snagger units are typically our anti-vehicle units. So they're going to be taking 2-up armor saves against our Squighog boys, our beast snagger boys on foot. So we're not really going to like seeing that. Mazrog, the beast boss on Squigosaur, they don't have great AP.
Yeah, no, the next strat that they specifically have in this detachment is auto exploding. So that's pretty big because these vehicles do multiple mortal wounds, and they can easily throw the dreadnought in your face.
And we have a lot of feel no pain, so we don't really care sometimes. But what that does matter is for ghazghkull, right? So we have ghaz, we go in there, Kool-Aid Man through the building, and then they decide we take out one dreadnought. Ghaz gets in a close fight, and then he decides just to auto explode. So it is something to keep in mind if you're trying to win on an objective, because there's multiple dreadnoughts, we'll say, on this objective. He knows that if he kills a bit of your chaff, maybe your grout snuck on there, and he blows up, he could choose to clear the objective a little bit with that. So it is something to know that when they're going down, they can go down blowing you up. The next thing is they have a 1 CP strat. Guys, keep in mind, all these strats are 1 CP, so it's very proficient. You're going to have to keep that in mind all the time when you're playing. You have the +1 movement, +1 save, 1+1 to hit, 1+ leadership, +1 OC, +1 toughness. So you get all that for just 1 straight up CP on a dreadnought, which we really don't really love to see that, right? +1 toughness in itself is going to be annoying for our knobs units. +1 to its save is essentially giving it a possible secondary armor of contempt. So you can have 2 units that are taking 2 grade up armor saves against orcs. And then the +1 movement, you know, we know about that. But +1 to hit means that they're going to be more reliable in combat. Because typically when you're sitting there against a dreadnought with your Squighog boys, you're like, well, he gets 5 attacks. He's hitting on 3s. I can assume he's going to drop 1 at least in the hit roll, maybe even 2. Then in the wound roll, he's going to drop another one. Right? Hitting on 2s, that could easily just become straight up 5 hits right off the bat. So we don't like to see that as a whole, because it is until the next command phase when they take that. So it's throughout the whole time that they're fighting you back. It's really problematic. That's going to be one against orcs. You're going to have a plan for understanding that that's coming no matter what. If the person's a high level player, they're going to know that the one dreadnought that they're trying to hold most with is going to be taking this ability unless they're going into like beast boss or something. The next CP is returning fire, right?
Yeah, so if you shoot at one of these dreadnoughts and you reduce it to, I believe, below half strength, they can shoot you immediately back.
Yeah, I put half range on accident, but it's half strength of the unit, right? Of the dreadnought that's hurt. So that actually matters for our flash gits, right? Typically, our flash gits can actually hurt dreadnoughts from all different types. Even the Redemptor, you won't kill it, but you could definitely hurt it a bit if it's standing out in the open without cover. You can, the person could armor of contempt, but they're not going to do it. They're going to save their CP for the fight phase. You can catch them off guard. That's something that you're going to have to keep in mind, that if he does leave, let's say a ballistic dread, it's holding its back objective. Maybe he doesn't have cover. Oh, I'm going to go ahead and shoot him. Oh, he's going to shoot right back at your flash gets, get a free activation there as well. So we don't really love to see that, but it is something to keep in mind because, typically our flash gets are going to be getting targeted once they disembark from the truck. They're probably going to whirlwind them. They're going to be, so if they get a chance to return fire on them, they're going to look to do that too. And flash gets are making it on a lot of very popular orc lists.
And specifically, I want to specify on the dreadnought that that gun is D6 +1 and blast. So on average, that's 5 shots coming back at you.
So, and then we have
that high efficiency with the rerolling.
And then he can get lethals, because he's in the lethal aura possibly, and then it can be really stupid. So, then we have 1 CP to ignore all modifiers other than saves. That's something that you have to pay attention for your knobs, right? Your knobs can start getting picked up right there because they have the built-in already -1 to wound. So that's a matter for my knobs. If you know they're gonna, they have to kill Mazrog and they know you're gonna activate your -1 to wound, they could choose to do that because a lot of their vehicles actually Maz can tank because Maz is toughness 10. That means their plasma cannons aren't going to be great. Even their whirlwinds aren't going to love it. So really it comes down to maybe their lancers because the rest of their anything below strength 10 be winning them on 6. So this is something where they can go, well, I have to do this. They might have to choose to do that and to Maz try to hurt them. But it is something to keep in mind, right? Or they know they're going to try to kill your Squighog boys. Right. So that's something right there. Then you have the last, but certainly not least.
These are so many good options
for 1 CP, right? What do you think about this last strat? You go ahead with
so for the last strat, also a condition that it has to target a unit below starting strength, and they get sustained hits 1. And if that attacking unit, which most likely is going to be a dreadnought or a gladiator lancer, they also get critical hits on 5s.
Though that is going to mitigate our hard as nails. Knowing that this is coming into play, it really does play a factor. If you're going to just hard as nails, this person's definitely going to use a strat against whatever they're going to be looking to do more damage into. And it's going to, what you can see here though, guys, what I'm going to bring up is, yes, they're all 1 CP strats. Yes, they're all great strats, but they're not getting free CP strats activation necessarily like they would with their captains. There's going to be, they're going to have to resource management and allocate this. So you guys can look at it and go, oh man, this is, how am I going to overwhelm this? Hey guys, remember, sometimes you're trying to bait stratagems. Sometimes you have to understand they're just going to get them for turn 1 and turn 2, and they're not going to have, and that's where you're going to be calling the walls turn 2 most likely. So they're not going to have a ton of CP straight off the bat. So they're not doing all of these. It's good for you to be aware of these to know which areas that you might have to throttle. But all in all, are they really going to have enough CP to do these all the time throughout the whole game? No. So don't be overwhelmed and overburdened by these as a whole. But let's look at the units.
One thing I do want to point out real, well, I guess I'll point it out when we look at the list.
So we're going to just go to the units to look out for and some of our green sins that we want to get stuck in the ways we would probably like to use them or see them being used. And after this, we'll actually look at the list right away. So right away, we know right off the bat, guys, I put Gladiator Lancer there, but it's really any kind of form of Gladiator you're going to see on these lists. They don't mind standing still. They don't mind being in kind of bubbles within a range of each other. Gun lines, that's what they want to do. That's how their army works. So Lancers, ballistas dreadnoughts, they're kind of cheap. I think that's why they also bring them because they're durable to return fire from the enemy units that are other gunline units. I don't think they're necessarily that devastating for orcs. Their cannons, missile cannons aren't that scary. Our knobs can easily go into them and kill them. So if you do crush a flank and you decide you're going to destroy a dreadnought, he's not reducing damage by 1. He's not killing you in combat. So if you're prolonged stuck with him, he's not the dreadnought that I'm worried about at all. And
Right.
even the brutalis dreadnought I'm not worried about, but he's not really that often brought. Is just what I'm going to say. So
Yeah, well, with these first two choices, what people bring them for is their efficiency offensively because they
Yes.
got built-in rerolls.
Yeah. And so they're going to put those las cannons reliably into you. I just don't think their overall firepower for their point cost is something that orcs really worry about. They're not going to get trades out of this.
Yes.
They might kill a squighog boy in bad positioning, but there's a good chance Gaz is going to tank their las cannon. Sorry, Gaz too, but Maz is going to tank their las cannons, or even your trucks might end up rolling 6s on invul and such like that. So yes, they can reliably pop your trucks in this detachment, though, is something to keep in mind. So what I was thinking with this detachment when going into it is sometimes it might be smart to move your truck and disembark right away behind your building. Yes, they might have a lancer that can go into it too, but you're going to be taking damage from when you disembark from the explosion, right? You're gonna have to roll for those losses, and you're gonna be taking the whirlwinds anyways. Sure, they might have to be able to, I'm gonna stage this, and then you're gonna take more whirlwind shots. Regardless, all in all, the guys, they're gonna kill whatever unit they choose to kill. Yes. It's about us popping our strats when we can and being efficient when it's time to be efficient. The reason you want to move the truck and disembark for that is because you're going to end up using Here We Go to really Kool-Aid man through those buildings to avoid the screens. Because next we're going to talk about is the scouts, right? Of course, we all know their dreadnoughts are going to be there, right? Dreadnoughts, we all know what dreadnoughts do. They're reducing damage is a huge problem. They're going to be their big contenders for the middle. But really, the scout, the friend region rules, the Imperial henchmen, you guys got to pay attention to the fact that anything that can screen you, run up into your lanes, is going to hinder your Mazrog, your Squighog boys for those multiple turns. So they're going to end up getting more shots on you downrange. You're not going to have the wall for its defensive capabilities. You're going to take more losses than you really want. So the biggest strength of this army might end up being their ability to smooth block.
Right. And these are very cheap options. Scouts, 55 points. They do so much for that point value. They scout move, they infiltrate, they can pop out of into strategic reserves in the end of your movement phase and then come in later. Fenrisian Wolves are 30 points, even cheaper. They're very fast units. They're B, so they can move through terrain.
They're like little orc boys, no? With their profiles offensively.
Yeah, they're like little orc boys. And then the Imperial Allies, and the henchmen specifically, 40 points. They got OC1.
They're usually background just doing, but they're doing activations. You're going to have to kill them. What we're bringing up here, guys, is in our heads, we're thinking, I'm going to move up turn 1. I'm going to take some losses. I'm going to call WAAAGH, and I'm going to charge you. Yeah. If you're playing at a casual, chill game, you might get that off. But as people learn how to play these, they're going to start move blocking you with scouts. They're going to bring more scouts. They're going to be infiltrating units. They're going to bring Fenrisian Wolves. They're going to understand that as an orc player, if I cut up the lanes, you're not going to have units that are proficiently moving through the buildings if you're all Squighog boys, if you're all trucks and just getting all stuck in the middle lanes, and then your guys disembark and then they're in the standing in the open getting shot the heck, right? So it's going to be a factor of the movement, and when to call the WAAAGH is going to be huge when going into this, right? As we look at the gets to look out for, the move blocking gets are the ones that actually you're going to have to be more attention to. We already know what a dreadnought does. We know what it takes to kill a dreadnought for the most part. How are you going to get to the dreadnought and win? How long is the enemy going to prolong you? That's what you need to keep in mind when you're fighting these factions. I mean, the detachment.
Right. And with these cheap units, by them slowing you down, that just gives the whirlwinds more opportunities to bring you down below strength to then activate those conditions for the strats so the redemptors can come in and finish off your Squighog boys.
Yeah, that's a good point. And the prolonged fight's harder for you as the dreadnoughts are getting healed by their Tech Marine brothers at the same time.
Yes.
So all these fights, if this fight does get to prolong, if you start drip feeding your units into them, you can also start taking losses in that kind of way. Because how you deal with this detachment as a whole is to most of the time crush a flank. You're going to have something durable, maybe a Maz, maybe a Gaz, units, bricks of Squighog boys contesting the middle. And then you're going to use your other most powerful, threatening beast boss type units, maybe flash kits. You're going to find a way to take over and just take over that flank as a whole, whether you come in from ingress, whether you get it on the wall charge, whatever it needs to be, whatever your tactics are. But the whole point of it is that if you start to stage behind the buildings on the flanks, drip feed the skirmish with him, you're just going to start getting killed. The dreadnought's going to stay on the objective. He's going to hold it. He's going to shoot, fight you away. As you get stuck there, he's going to reliably find angles and shoot you more reliably with the rest of his units, as his whirlwinds are constantly doing damage to you. We need to close the distance on them and destroy them because of the whirlwinds, and in a sense, because the Inceptors. If you don't have enough board control, the Inceptors are going to continue to score for them. Is another thing that's there. Yes, I understand they come in within 3, but that's where flash kits come into play, to where you can actually shoot them or threaten where they're going to come down. But that's also why you need board control. If you decide I'm just going to stay back here because I'm scared to get shot, you're not going to get anywhere. You are going to need to utilize maybe 3-man units of Squighog boys to try to destroy those scouts, to try to get enemies to move, to try to use maybe the flash kits to shoot them, because yes, they have the ability to pop smoke, but they can flash kits with the rerolls are still murdering scouts.
Yes.
So flash kits are interesting here, right? So as we looked at the gets to look out for, what about the greenstons we look to get stuck in with, right? How are we going to use the units that we know they're good for? Of course, there's more than one ways to fight this, guys. There's a lot of ways to play as Orks. We're going to look at the direct ways and the ways that I advise we use them. And so let's start with the Beast Snagga boys and the Beast Boss. So some people will say this is straightforward. Yeah, dude, I run forward and I charge. I get devastating ones. Yes. But if you haven't heard before, utilizing Unbridled Carnage and rerolling the entire hit roll for the Beast Boss is the optimal way to use the Beast Boss. What do I mean by that? If you read the wording for the Beast Snagga boys on foot, their ability is, when fighting a vehicle or a monster, reroll the hit roll. That means you can reroll your actual passing hit rolls. That means pick up 4, 3s, 2s, and 1s, reroll them all, and fish. What you call in 40K fishing means you're looking for an actual outcome. You're fishing for 5s and 6s, right? In that case, you're more likely to throttle into 10, possibly, hits with your Beast Boss on foot. That's really where you want to be if you're trying to solo take down a Dreadnought or any of these vehicle type units with a Beast Boss on foot and his little unit entourage of Beast Snagga boys. So that's a very efficient way to utilize, because remember, guys, that Beast Snagga boy unit is going to end up taking some losses probably on Overwatch, maybe when he disembarks from the truck. So this Beast Boss on foot is needed to do a lot of damage on his own. So even if the one knob is still alive, you can do that and get a lot of damage throttling from that ability.
Yeah, I look at the Beast Snaggas as more of as a delivery system for the Beast Boss.
Yeah, for sure. Just keep them. You do want to keep at least one alive. It's not up to you,
Yeah.
but if you just have that one knob alive, guys, you can utilize that combination, and it really does matter. Rerolling that, fishing for more 5s and 6s, mathematically, you're not doing a bad thing. You're going to get up into, he has 6 base and then 7 on the wall with his choppa. Boom, you can get up to 10, no problem. The next is actually gas. So either rapid ingress him or Kool-Aid man him through the middle of the walls, right? If the middle of the objectives, knowing that we just talked about these screening units, gas might be a direct solution for that. People know about Maz, people know about Squighog boys. What they know about gas, right? Because gas also gives us this lethal aura within 12 inches during the wall. So he's helping your knobs, because your knobs are going to have issues here sometimes, guys. Hate to break it to you, but he'll help your knobs actually get more reliable in there as well, right? Or if he brings a couple of mega knobs with him, it'll help them too. So that being said, gas can be a direct problem to the fact that they're going to have these great cheap screening units to actually contest, threaten the middle, and punish the middle if they decide to just throw Dreadnought down there early game, knowing they have CP. Gaz is not going to care about their abilities. And oh yeah, what you get to reduce damage by 1 in Armor of Contempt. That's cool, bro. Oh, you know what I'm saying? So it's okay to get up there. Gaz can draw fire. Your Squighog boys can be at full potential. Your knobs, there's so many things that can go right if you just let Gaz contest the middle and actually put up, give his 2-up invuln a shot, huh? So yeah, gas can end up being a direct solution there, guys. Or like I said earlier, if you do decide you can crush a flank because maybe the enemy was holding back a little too much, they were just too much overcommitted on one side, bring gas in from his side, rapid ingress him in. We go on the following turn, get down the table, crush someone that way. Next, you have Mazrak. Actually, and this is just my opinion, he's actually not reliable to kill in this matchup most of the time, right? If he gets in there with the Redemptor Dreadnought, there's a good chance he can just straight bounce. Not always. He could destroy a Ballistus, could destroy maybe a Gladiator, but all in all, he's really about holding an objective, performing secondaries, possibly early game if you have to, or if you have a cleanse or something. What you're trying to do is draw firepower to him and let the enemy know, if you don't, I'm going to get stuck in with you. I'm going to hold you where you are, and you're not going to score on primary very well or on secondaries very well. So you could think, oh, Maz is my killy guy. No, Gaz is actually more of your killy guy. Maz is more of your, I'm here to hold you in place. This could be my weak flank, hypothetically, right? If you're overcommitting on one side, Gaz can be your undercommitted on the other side because you're just holding that. Just holding that. Hey, you have to kill me. It's going to be a problem for you, but if I get lucky, I pull you down with me. So Maz is actually pretty interesting in this matchup and helps a lot.
Yeah, with these low volume, high damage shots, his two layers of defense are gonna mess all that math up.
Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm such a fan of him over the beast boss on Squigosaur, because the 4-up invuln makes a huge difference when you're getting in melee combat with a Redemptor Dreadnought. It really does. The next thing here is Squighog boys with Nabot Smash a Squig. I personally strongly advise Adwapa's Kill Choppa. I know a lot of you guys are beast boss on Squigosaur, Adwapa's Kill Choppa. That's great and all. You're not wrong for that. But in this matchup, he can actually be killed somewhat reliably, considering he only has a 5-up invuln, taking some Gladiator Lancers to the face. In this way, you have a more reliable dev wound delivery system, and on the wall, he's reliable for them 5s, right? So, and if you do choose to use Unbridled Carnage, when he does get off as well for this unit, he becomes more reliable. You just get a actual handful of dev wounds, and he can continue to do it in prolonged combat, because the Squighog boys aren't just getting picked up if they're still in combat. They might bounce, because Armor of Contempt, they really know. I know that for a fact. But he's not chewing through that unit quick enough for the Squighog boy on Smash a Squig to not get a second round of combat with Adwapa's Kill Choppa to reliably start to bring something down like a Dreadnought that's contesting, right? So that's why I strongly advise it on him. It's not that you're wrong for the other way. This is just the way that I see it working out more, because if an enemy sees that Beast Boss on Squigosaur coming at you with Adwapas, they're putting all their super reliable anti-tank fire into him. He's going to be hurt. They can trial the strats. 5-up invuln isn't going to cut it. Maz, though, with this 4-up invuln, makes a huge difference. So yeah, Squighog boys, Adwapas, I advise that. Now, Warboss and Knobs. This is one that might need to be used in tangentially with, in cohesion with Gaz when he decides to go, right? Because you actually really might need that Gaz lethal aura, considering that we already know that these guys can increase their toughness.
Yes.
And so you also know that they're not going to reliably destroy a Redemptor Dreadnought with your knobs. And usually that's what you're going in there. They're usually out there to scalpel a unit out. This is where something like Squighog boys plus grenades going into a unit, and then the knobs coming in there to help clean it up. What do I mean by that? Squighog boys have grenades, so do knobs. But the Squighog boys could possibly, once they put their bomb squigs into a unit, another unit throws a grenade into these their Dreadnought, then the knobs can come in there and help finish it off, especially if you Unbridled Carnage. The volume, even when wounding on 2, will make a difference because of the AP. All in all, I still think knobs are useful across a bunch of different matchups in Space Marines as they are. That's why they still made it onto units that you can get stuck in with, okay? Next are trucks. So the reason why I wanted to bring trucks in is because I want to just point out, we know that they're for defensive purpose, duh. For secondary purpose, duh. Something that I think is severely overlooked is that you can tank shock enemy assassins quite reliably with your truck. All right. So if someone's trying to get this assassin for their secondaries, mind you, these detachments are going to be looking for most likely fixed secondaries. They're going to be looking for something that they can do reliably, that they're going to have only a couple units that can score for them. Therefore, having an assassin on the table, they're going to try to stick in a corner. Yeah. I'm going to invest my truck. Go get him, get. And just squish that get. I promise you. So it's hilarious, but the truck can also be used to tank shock those weird scoring enemy units that you don't want to commit into, that the truck probably won't die if you get stuck in with. But go ahead and tank shot some kind of weird enemy scoring potential units. I think that's overlooked as well. So I wanted to bring that up. So flash gets. I think flash gets are also necessary for the similar reason, actually. Scoring. You have to score to kill his scoring units and threaten them, not let him have straight maneuverability and staging at all times. It's great to put him in an open lane. I know you're going to be scared to get shot in return. Hey, man, it is what it is. It's better. It's okay that he shoots the flash gets down range, and the Squighog boys, the beast bosses on foot, the knobs, whatever it may be, is not getting fired then at that time. So don't take it as a way you got to keep them alive, guys. Sometimes just let them be out, let them pop their ammo runs, let them do their thing, and just be there to project your threat range, your force, and be the force multiplier. Don't be scared to lose them. If anything, they're chipping down units so knobs can get in, so that they can kill those stupid scouts so that they don't come in later and start bothering you. So flash kits are still very useful. I understand they're only -1 AP and there's access to Armor of Contempt, but there are times that the enemy's not going to have the CP for it, especially not in that phase. There's times that he's not going to be standing on the objective that you're still going to want to do that. And keep in mind, Captain Badrock has -3 AP. So when he goes off and at damage 3, it does make a difference that one turn. All right. And then Grots. So why do you need Grots? People are just, Grots are back there. They screen. I understand they screen. But in this kind of matchup, guys, getting them to actually be in play, involved into taking objectives and just standing there to start beating out these units on OC, causing them to throw some of their small arms fire over there will matter too as well. So Grots need to be brought into play. And not just be used to hold your backfield necessarily all the time. We know that these armies are coming straight forward. They might even not even have units that can come in deep strike reliably all the time, right? They might not even be able to do it. Therefore, Grots need to get involved some other times, get up the board, start taking objectives, or you can ingress one of them. Sorry, not ingress, strategic reserve one of them, right? So yes, people like to do that. So let's look at some of the lists. That way you can pack this all together and what we were talking about when we decided that this was going to be a possible problematic matchup. Here's my face. All right. So right here we have David Truman's Blood Angel type units, right? So this is what we would consider a pretty vanilla-y kind of Space Marine. You're going to see this just off the table. Most guys can have this and collect this. It's not really a sub-faction specific. So David?
Yeah, this archetype can be brought by any Space Marine army.
So if you want to go through and talk about what matters and why.
So right here we see the lieutenant with combi weapons. What he brings is he selects an objective in the beginning of the first round, and his whole army rerolls wound rolls of 1.
Yeah, so he's throttling on that one midboard objective right off the bat. That's why we were talking about, hey, you're going to have to understand that one of them's going to be the hard one, and then you're going to push a flank more than the middle, even though you're going to contest it. Right. Tech Marine with Argo away.
Yeah, so this is the lethal hits aura. So it's obviously going to be babysitting some Redemptors moving up the field.
That's also why you have to consider the fact that when a truck gets in disembarked, that you want to consider where you're placing it behind that terrain piece. Because yes, the Dreadnought might only have strength 4 weapons. Yes, your Nous might be -1 to wound against your strength 4, strength 5 weapons, but yeah, it's lethal. Right. So all of a sudden you're getting picked up with weapons you didn't expect to.
And then this Tech Marine is taking the Adept of the Omnissiah, which is wiping the damage to 0.
Which matters when you're going against, a Gaz or maybe even maybe Maz gets lucky all of a sudden, and then you're like, no, never mind. So right here you can see Ballistus Dread, Gladiator Lancers, 3 of them. This is why Beast Boss and Squigosaur is a no-no to me, in my opinion. A 5-up invuln is going to get murked by this. Especially they have built-in reroll, hit roll, wound roll, and damage roll. They already have that built in the data sheet.
And they still have Ultra Moment too.
Yeah, so they're just super reliably killing something that doesn't have a great invuln save. Then we have the Reaper. They like to have a little bit of small arms fire and such. That's why I'm still like, man, even if you're running you really got to be careful with your units of boys. They can get picked up easily there. If they're running them, people might not use that. Redemptor Dreadnoughts, every unit's going to have 3. Every unit's going to bring plasma incinerators, and I think every unit's going to bring Gatling because they have the lethal capabilities.
Exactly.
And then we have the Scout Squad. So as you can see, most of them, if they're not bringing 3, they're bringing 2. This is just great. Too much utility. They do everything you want to do with every special ability in the game. These guys need to be killed quickly. This might even be worth it to flash get them. It could be worth it to most of the time I'm not advising grenades into stuff like this, but dang, if you really don't want to commit over and throw into the middle and charge and die because you didn't bring enough chast for it, man, you might need to do it with that. But I'd throw a biker unit into that, wouldn't be bad. And then they have their missile launchers as well, guys. So keep in mind they have these stupid special weapons. And then Inquisitorial Henchmen. This is what's going to be in their backlines and such. Hopefully you can get your Storm Boys off. And or an individual Zagstruck. What's going on? Woo! Just wanted to say that. I love that. So here's the example, guys, when we were talking about why and what when you see this list. But there's not much going on here. As you see, what's really contesting the middle of the table? The Redemptor Dreadnoughts. Right? Redemptor Dreadnoughts. What he's hoping is that he's screening you with those Scout Marines just enough that he's whittled you down to by the time you get in there and try to charge him, you're not one-shotting his dreadnoughts. They're getting healed. They're beating you in a skirmish in a fight. That's why it is important that when you build your list, having something that can deal with or be willing to die or just run through terrain is going to be very important, because you're going to have to trade something to kill those sentinels. I mean, those sentinels, sorry, those scouts. That maybe death copters could be an interesting play there. Bikers, stuff like that, where you're like, hey, your small arm fires are going to straight clear me. You're going to have to commit to me, and then I'm going to move and continue to move pressure into the game. So this was one example, and then we'll look at another example right now. David loves to see it.
Yeah.
A Space Wolves iteration.
This one synergizes a little bit better, because specifically with Space Wolves, you can bring 2 character dreadnoughts to hold your one of your flanks. Maybe the one that the enemy's not really focusing on.
And like I always say, when you're talking about beakies, they want to shoot you and fight you by association. They don't want to overcommit to their fighting capabilities. But in lore and stuff, the beaky will shoot his gun and then go fight you with his train sword, right? So when Space Marines can get reliable fighting and they get to retain their reliable shooting, that's when they're optimal. And that's what we're seeing here with this kind of Space Wolf iteration. So Bjorn Fellhander, what does he do?
So he brought him with multi-melta. So that's 2 shots, strength 9, -4, d6 damage.
Is he fighting though? What is he doing?
Yeah. So the big thing with this, the big thing with multi-melta is he's gonna get access to the reroll damage, and that's one of the downsides to having meltas. But you overcome that with that, and then the true.
He gives an army or a unit. What do you mean by that?
From the Ironstorm detachment ability.
Just because he rolls it. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's it. Okay.
He's benefiting.
So you're just saying that he gets a reliable melta. But what does he do in fighting?
Make his melta more reliable.
And what's his army like point here? Is he just meant to fight by himself?
So he's meant more to hold like a weak flank. Maybe with Murder Fang, you don't need to throw buffs at him because it is a low amount of.
So he is by himself. He's just chilling.
Yeah. So he's by himself, just chilling. Okay. And his True Claw, I believe strength 12 -3 damage. No, yeah. D6 damage.
And guys, this is just like a firstborn dreadnought that has a name. Him and Murder Fang, that's what they are.
And then he also brings a unique ability similar to the Calidus, where he can increase your stratagem by 1 CP the next time.
Oh, no. That's not good for us. We hate to see that. Then Murder Fang.
And Murder Fang, he gets to shoot or fight anytime he is attacked. So if he hasn't fought in the fight phase, he could fight on death.
Very orky. Then we have the Tech Marine. The Tech Marine. Augur away for lethals, and then add up to the Omnicide to reduce damage, and then Master of the Machine, of the War Machine. Is this one?
And this one is.
Do you fall back and shoot?
No, not the fall back and shoot.
No,
I don't know.
Oh, you can tell me. You can look at it right now. Then we have the Fenrisian Wolves. That's why I want to bring them up. 30 points, guys. They're fast. They can actually fight a little bit with their profiles and volume. They can move through terrain. Super annoying. 5-man unit, good enough to move block you. I believe the 32 mil bases too. And what's that?
It is the fall back and shoot.
Oh, okay.
And shoot or when they advance.
Yes, yeah. And why this matters is because then they'll fall forward. So you typically want to hold them in place. This is where you as an orc player need to move block them with your models when you get into combat, and deliberately where you place your models will matter. Because if you don't, and he has this Tech Marine, he's going to fall forward onto the objective and actually try to beat it from you, right? Especially when they have that strat that can give them more OC.
Right.
And like we said here, Fenrisian Wolves. Why I said they're good. They're just good. Infiltrators, obviously nobody needs to explain why they're on this list.
Again, Redemptor Dreadnoughts.
3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts, grenade launchers, all that. Only two Scout Sentinels on this list. Still 3 Whirlwinds, and then a Caladius Assassin.
Yeah, so that's 2 sources of increasing your strat by 1 CP.
Yeah.
And what I also like about this list more, it synergizes a little bit more with the strats and what the detachment wants to do by bringing the Whirlwinds, because you make that more efficient. Early on, you can have a Tech Marine by it to give it the +1 hit to negate the indirect penalty.
And it has more things to contest objectives in the middle of the table, because it's not all reliant on 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts.
Right.
There's 2 other Dreadnoughts that are there to also contest that part of the game.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty interesting. So that's why I want to give that example, guys, right? So with that being said, just go back to our points, a little cute little thing to keep in mind here as we close this up, right? Or kind of get some thoughts. We'll also read chats right after this. Don't worry, guys. We see you out there. Is this one of our direct predator units? Exactly. No, but it is a challenging matchup as an orc player, especially if you're a new orc player, or especially if you have a limited collection range, right? So Things that you keep in mind: 1, so many different orc units have grenade strats. 2, a lot of these detachments, or sorry, these detachments aren't going to have a lot of scoring potential units. Prioritizing the units that you need to kill will be, prioritizing the units that are there for scoring are the ones you need to kill. Okay, it's easier said than done. I understand that, but the Space Marine player might be a little too enthusiastic to score early so he doesn't get left behind. And you need to take advantage of that more than, oh, I'm going to get stuck in with 3 Redemptor Dreadnoughts because it's the wall, right? There might just be a fact that you're going to give up an objective and go for the middle one, kill the middle one, and overwhelm the left flank with something else. It really does come down to your movement, your staging, and understanding that when I call this WAAAGH, it's also for the defensive capabilities to stay here and maintain momentum. Because if you allow the enemy to come back, keep killing themselves, keep giving themselves their capabilities so they can more reliably kill you, and now you don't have the 5-up invuln anymore, you're going to lose that attrition in that trade rate, right? And at that point, he will come back on his points. So if you're just too focused on aggro and taking out the Redemptor Dreadnoughts because they're standing in the open, you can end up losing that exchange as well. Because they just don't reliably die when you want them to. Not all of them, not across the table, not with their strats, not when they have enough CP. So that's why it is, in my opinion, intelligent to find a flank and commit hard to it. So some kind of hammer, some kind of anvil, like I like to call it. In most cases, I like to call Maz the anvil in that way. You can use your knobs. Maybe you can use your ghaz to run up into the middle of the objective, cause them to kind of commit. And then your beast boss could be the guys that move and actually go out there and overwhelm a flank, because a beast boss by himself can still destroy dreadnoughts or vehicle units not in the wall. Right. So that's how you kind of want to throw those units into play. Flash kits can help with the middle, can help with the strength that you're trying to overwhelm. Sorry, the flank that you're trying to overwhelm, because you can charge units like those Scout Marines with those flash kits. They're not scared to go over there and get stuck in with them. They're going to obliterate the Scout Marines in a melee fight with their choppas. It's not even in question. So don't ever forget that as well. You might need to reposition and use the flash kits to start stealing objectives. And then Grotz getting you those those CP is important. But in reality, going and committing and overwhelming an objective, maybe mid game, will make the big difference to making sure that guy doesn't score primary, leaving them in the dust. Even if he tables you, you still win that matchup. So Grotz are very important in that way.
Right. And I just wanted to point out that we're not suggesting you can only bring these units in this matchup. These are just valuable tools that you might want to consider throwing on your list to help you deal with some of these problems.
Exactly. And there might be more. You can say maybe, well, what about a gargantuan Squirgoth? Yes. He can destroy. I mean, I get it, but we're not talking about units I think that are awesome. We're just talking about units that are going to be reliable into a reliable faction themselves, because they're reliable in what they do. So let's look at quick at chats real quick. You think? Mm-hmm. What? There was someone. Okay. Okay. Sorry guys, we're looking right here. Oh, our first ever gifted super chat. What is happening? Whoa! Oh, not even what happened. I didn't even read it, dude. I'm tripping. Here is a fiber. Give half to Gork and half to Moore. All right, for Gork and for Moore. Gork will punch each other in the face. Oh, my teeth. Oh, knock the teeth out. All right. I like that. All right. Awesome. Fantastic. I greatly appreciate it. It's humbling. It's an experience in itself. And then we also have 5 gifted memberships. Make sure you guys collect those. They should be somewhere at the top right above. Get those little squigs and your little emojis. That'd be awesome. And it helps encourage us. It helps keep the channel going and more content, because we're improving and getting stuff better and better. So thank you. We appreciate that.
Yeah, just one more thing about the emojis. We have 4 more to release. But the way that the membership works is we have to unlock slots by having a certain amount of members. So as soon as we hit those, you'll see more emojis start to come out. Dang,
right now, guys, I mean, most of you guys should pretty much have them at this point. After that, I mean, I see you guys in there. Let's get a wall. Whoa! Tyler Smith. I appreciate you. That was awesome. All right. Thank you. I wasn't expecting that. I was just ranting. All right, let's see what this git says. I have a confession. I bought 6 dreadnoughts and some tech marines. I hope Gok and Mork find space in their cunning and brutal hearts to forgive me. Or is it brutal but cunning? Adike. Whoa! They do not forgive you. You shall be crumped. And then off the bits of your destroyed dreadnoughts, we will arise a mecha dread or a Gorkanaut. Whoa! That's how I feel about that. Dogga, 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 dogga. Yeah, that's how the flash kids be when you get close. You get those 40 shots off, right? Can I get a? And there we go. David is back. Hey, someone remember David? Yeah. No, I'm just kidding. It's about the Great WAAAGH, my dudes. For the revolution, always that little grab. Big Mac and the boss are here. What does it say? Do the Redemptors reduce the mortals from the grenades and the bomb squigs? They aren't attacked, so I'm not sure. No, they don't. No, they don't reduce that. That's a good question. They do for dev wounds, to keep in mind, right? They do actually reduce the damage for the dev wounds. So your beast boss on foot, your smasher squig with adwappas, those are gonna be damage 1. But that's why I like grenades a lot, because they will not be hindered.
Exactly.
So especially if you get like a CP from the Grots, and it's all about CP management, guys, with the Orks. Very, very much so. Okay. So don't willy-nilly throw the grenade shroud away and then forget you got to unbridled carnage and do all these other things, right? Or rapid ingress. But grenade will make a difference, and it has when I'm trying to kill dreadnoughts. Whoa! All right. Is there anything else we wanted to comment and discharge and confess? Well, we can say we plan to do this moving forward. We're going to break down more detachments and then other army rules that we can talk about as a whole. So if you guys want to let us know, in Discord or in comments, maybe we can do a post, stuff like that. But it's going to be all about tactics, like we want to talk about, right? Things we're going to have to do. We'll get better with pictures and our presentation. Everything will improve and get better. We're all about it. Continue to give us feedback because we like to hear it, and it does strengthen our. Whoa! Okay, wait. What did it say right here? What does little Gras say?
What strength attacks do T6 Grot tanks need to worry about? Who should I be prioritizing?
What attacks do you need to worry about? So, one is actually Gladiator Lancers. They're going to wound you on 2s. They're going to be reliably reroll hit rolling you. They're going to be reliably wound rolling you. And then the damage, typically as a Grot tank, you're going, hey, I'm 4 wounds. I'm a weird ablative wounds. Actually, I think they're 4. They're 4, right?
Was he asking who the Grot tanks should prioritize?
Yeah, they need to worry about.
Oh, and then it's the second. Okay.
Yeah. And so you need to worry about them because in reality they're rerolling their damage, and they have reliable. It's already like 2 plus D6, right? I think for the Lancer.
Yes.
So normally as a Grot, you're like in a Grot tank, you're like, well, I got 4 wounds. I'm a reliable ablative wounds, therefore I'm not being destroyed by a las cannon because it's D6. Haha. And the Lancer's like, nah, I'm pretty reliably. And then so Lancers can reliably destroy half that unit.
To specify, D6 plus 2 damage.
Yes, and they're re-rolling that damage.
Yes.
So those tanks are immediately a problem, right? The fact that you move after someone moves within range of you is nice. So you don't really have to worry about fighting units. Lancers as a whole, mostly. Then that's why people like Grot tanks, is it does require anti-tank shooting to kind of deal with you. Of course, you do have the Hellblasters will actually annihilate you if they get the bolter discipline and they get the same way people are worried about aggressors, where you can compound the crits, get to unsustains. Hellblasters can do the same thing at the same range as you as a rat tank for 24 inches, and they'll shoot you in death, right? So they'll put no problem, bare minimum, 25 wounds into your Grot tanks with their Hellblaster guns. -3 AP or -4 AP, 2 damage a pop.
They'll most likely supercharge.
Yeah, they'll most likely just one-shot your whole Grot tank unit if it's a full Hellblaster unit. So I'd say Hellblasters, Lancers are 2 of the most reliable ones. If it's other factions, you would want to say, there's not really factions that have straight damage 4, but there is, a little bit of Exocrine action is enough to really bother you if it gets lucky. Exocrines could be annoying. But like I like to tell people as a whole, and Leagues of Votaan, of course, they're going to destroy you, right? But as a whole, there's not as much long-range firepower as people like to think. What we need is just some more rules for the Orks and the mech WAAAGHs, right? They get a little bit better. And some data sheet abilities need to get better. A Gorkanaut +1 to hit, a Morkanaut +1 to hit, and the WAAAGHs isn't good. But as a whole, I actually think Ork mechs become interesting later, more than now. But Grot tanks are still good. Nothing wrong about that. It's got a little bit on the tangent there, but yeah.
The second part of the question?
There's a second part. Did I say that?
Who should
I be targeting? As a Grot tank, who should you prioritize?
I think that's what it means.
Ooh, well, Gravis Marines, obviously, straight up as a whole, that's the easiest one. If you're going into Eldar, the Wraith Guard, you're obviously going to want to prioritize them, in my opinion. Really, as a Grot tank, your mobility is going to be your main factor, because you're going to be staging into places that you're going to be able to possibly play the mission as well. Because remember, you are only 24-inch range. So it's not like you're just going to throw yourself up into the middle of the table just to get your turn one shots off. So it is going to come down to what people kind of give you there. Rhinos could be an interesting way to destroy rhinos for your team. Orca players as a whole, you hate when there's like a rhino or something reliable there that's popping smoke, and then you're going to go, oh, I can't pop that. Then the dudes get out and they countercharge you instead. No. It's great that with Grot tanks, you actually have the capability to pop rhinos, pop transports as a whole. You have the good capability to pop transports as a whole, and that's actually a problem for Orks. Something that Orks usually lack is the capability to pop transports. So any transport is what I would probably prioritize, right?
Yes.
The revolution will come for your gits last. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. I love that. We crumpy a little grotty. All right. Well, I think that's it for now, guys. Hopefully that was good. Call answer some of your questions.
Yeah, and like Eddie was saying, this is going to be a series, so we'll cover other armies, other orc predators, some real ones.
So you let me know what you guys want to see get crumped, or we get crumped, right?
Yes.
But we ain't never getting crumped, because Orks are never beaten. And there's one thing to keep in mind: don't cross a wall, because we knock your teeth out. Whoa!